discussion, the number of discussions of the series Analytics of Recovery, in Ukrainian Аналітика, Відновлення. And today our event is possible with support of our partners GIZ, who supported this research, and also organizational partner European Business Association, who also helped to gather all us here. As for timing of the event, we'll have the greetings and introduction from Кирило Криволап from Center for Economic Recovery and Anna Derevyanko. Then we'll get next to the point of the keynote speech and presentation from our colleague Dmitro Lich from Center for Economic Recovery and Easy Business. And after that, there will be a panel discussion with panelists Ivan Nagornyak, Alberto Fernandez Diaz. Also, we're expecting Taras Kachka and business representatives Igor Liski and Oliver Gierlis. We are very much looking forward to your questions and comments as soon as the panel discussion starts here online in the chat of the Zoom, and also in the chat of YouTube. We have a live stream translation broadcasting today, right? Actually, the last thing is safety. If it happened that it will be an air alert, we will double check again with all you. I hope you're all in safe places, and we will have some extra time, several minutes, 3-5 minutes, to double check with all of you and to decide if we continue right away of the discussion, or we will make any changes to the expected schedule. So we are working today 1 hour and 20 minutes, and I would like to give the floor to Kirill Krivolap, CEO of the Center for Economic Recovery and Volunteering Advisor to the Prime Minister of Ukraine. Kirill, the floor is yours.
Hello, everybody. Really glad to see you. We have YouTube actually broadcast, and we have this Zoom call. Indeed, this is our third event, Analytic of Recovery. We launched this series because we have several interesting researches. We researched several topics which I think are critical for our future of the country. And the first was dedicated to the free movement of capital, to the business climate, to currency liberalization. And we checked all the critical ratings about the country, and we defined that actually movement of capital is the lowest. So we started with that. And we brought attention to importance of this topic. Then the second event was dedicated to the topic of how to bring back Ukrainians and how to use international experience, especially Israeli experience, in bringing back diaspora and bringing back the people. This is research was completed with Western NIS Enterprise Fund. And this is one of our priority topics, and we prepare quite a big event for September on human capital development. And today we're talking about markets, we're talking about business, we're talking about money and investments. And we did a quite elaborate research on sectors, on geographies and instruments of investments and trade, which can help Ukraine to export to EU. We checked what are the opportunities for our business, and I'm actually super excited that our team will present this research today, because European Union is, first of all, it's primary, it's economical union, and entering EU brings a lot of good benefits to our country. Thank you, and have a great event.
Thank you very much, Kirillo. This event probably won't happen in such a format and with so many representatives of the business, European business community, Ukrainian business community, and many thanks to European Business Association. We have We have today at the intro speech Anna Derevyanko, the CEO of European Business Association. We admire that we had this great experience of organizing together the Ukrainian Recovery Business Day in London just a month ago within the URC, and it's great to have such a follow-up afterwards. So Anna, the first yours. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Vasil, and thank you so much for warm words. And I would like to extend immediately also big gratitude on behalf of our team to Kirill and the whole team of the Economic Recovery Center, because we always enjoy cooperation with you. It goes without saying. Now, when it comes to today's event and today's topic, it's really essentially important. It's really very timely to be discussed. And we at European Business Association for already 24 years are raising different issues which are connected to this or another extent to European integration. But now is the time to elevate this topic even higher, because we are entering the accession negotiation phase, and we hope that it will be open, I hope, in several months, but let's see. It's connected to political decision from European Union and to the preparedness, to readiness of Ukraine actually to enter this process. But what we see clearly that Ukraine is really eager to enter the negotiation process, and let's hope that with this symmetric approach we will see also the response from European side. But nevertheless, what we see at the current stage, that this road is not going to be very easy. I mean, this accession to European Union, and this road needs to be, supported also from the private sector point of view, because government will make its part of the job, but nevertheless, it will be easier to overcome this road in case private business and business in general will be part of the process. And that's why we see that both on the Ukrainian front, it will be necessary to advocate for the issues which would be important for the accession of Ukraine into the EU, but at the same time it's necessary to prepare the grounds on the European platform as well, because what we feel and what we see on the European front, that Ukraine is quite often known as the country of corruption, crisis and war already. And in order to positively and effectively harmonize everything and integrate Ukraine into the EU, it will be also necessary to work on the communication front. It's necessary to also to concentrate on trust building, and that can be done by means of building bridges between Ukrainian stakeholders and European stakeholders. That's why we as European Business Association last year decided to arrange our extraterritorial business development arm, Global Business for Ukraine, and it's registered in Switzerland at the current stage. And we would like to see chapter of this institution in all countries of European Union. Of course, it's not going to be an easy exercise. It's not going to be a very rapid process, but nevertheless, the ambition is clearly there. So that's why I would like to use this opportunity to invite everyone for cooperation, because we believe that only with joint efforts, only with synchrony and synergetic effect, it will be possible to overcome this necessary step and become a member of the EU, and obviously as a consequence to integrate our business partners into European value chains. It is really extremely essential and important. So on this I would like to stop and I would like to pass the floor again back to Vasil, and would like to wish everyone a very successful and I would say useful debate, because obviously it's not going to be the last debate, because this is going to be years of different negotiations and different conversations. So let's hope that we will have lots of I would say strengths and wisdom to overcome this process with best benefits for both Ukraine and European Union. Vasil, back to you.
Thank you very much, Anna. I just have a deja vu that this discussion might have happened like 10 years ago, 2013, when we are expecting to sign the EU-Ukraine Association Agreement, right? Just before the Revolution of Dignity happened. But That's our
Better
history.
late than never.
That's
You see,
better
what's
late than
better late, better late than never.
but that's our way. Okay, so that's maybe in better circumstances, but I hope one day Ukraine will be ready to say that we are strong as never, right? And Ukrainian businesses and Ukrainian integration to the EU and
But
Europe
now,
is
but
the
if
strong.
I might add just one minor thing, because just today I crossed again the border with European Union and managed actually somehow to talk already to simple people in Poland, for example, right? And they were chatting, they were asking how the situation in Ukraine, blah, 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 blah. And I was saying that, look, guys, we are preparing to become a member of European Union. And it will be obviously very important to have support of Poland as well in this way. And the guys, I repeat, these are simple people, like simple business people, not high level, etc. But nevertheless, the guy said, no, but it's going to be really very lengthy. And I was asking, why do they believe that it's not going to be an easy exercise? And he was saying that lots of corruption in Ukraine, and with this level of corruption, it will be next to impossible to overcome this road very quickly. So I took this as a sign of homework as well. So from one side, obviously, we need to concentrate on clearing up the way and reducing corruption and red tape in Ukraine. But at the same time, we also should concentrate on communication outside of Ukraine, because not that bad situation is inside of Ukraine, but we need to clearly demonstrate very big amount of success stories on Ukrainian market. So that's why that can ease entering of our business people into European value chains.
Thanks again, Anna. Before we get to the presentation of Metro, I would like to double check that our speakers of the panel are here and ready with video and sound, and I would like to have a blitz with you. I see Alberto is already here, Ivan Horniak also, and other colleagues will follow. Just a short question to you. Anna already mentioned this big things like corruption and rule of law. What is actually, if in one or two bullet points as homework for Ukraine on integrating into the EU value chains, what would you name as major or big things? So Anna said corruption and rule of law. Okay, maybe other one or two things from, I just want to have this small intro from Ivan and Alberto, as I see they are online. Alberto, maybe? Yeah, Alberto, I see you.
Yes, hello, Vasil, how are you? No, fully agree with Anna, and I think we can look at the general principles that underpin the accession process. What is important for businesses is not just the anti-corruption efforts. This is a very important element, but anything that has a positive impact on the business climate and investment climate for potential investors that want to put money into Ukraine. So that's, of course, the rule of law. That's principle. That's a key aspect. Good for Ukraine, but also good for the investors that want to have a predictable climate. But I would also emphasize the aspect of regulatory approximation, which is in the spirit of the DCFTA. And that goes in, the EU is at the end a huge internal market with a lot of opportunities. So this market is an ecosystem with plenty of rules and legislation. So I think anti-corruption is indeed a key aspect, not the only one, but a very important one.
Thank you very much, Alberto. Ivan, your take? Hi.
Of course, thank you, Vasil, and I will support Alberto's idea related to that rule of law is essential, and we will not go further with our accession talks without moving further with the rule of the law and anti-corruption efforts, because it is the part of fundamentals. So following the even negotiations and methodology and enlargement methodology, this is no-go scenario if we will not show the progress. And I would say that even today we had moved a little bit further, because Verkhovna Rada voted for very important two draft laws on first of all, on the Constitutional Court, and second one on the restoring of the e-declarations. So day by day we are moving towards the opening of the accession negotiations. And of course, I will also support Alberto's idea related to the regulatory approximation, because EU acquis implementation is giving the very important thing, is giving the I would say very clear rule of the game inside of the market. So of course, when the EU investors are looking on the Ukraine, and they are looking, of course, for the very, I would say, important thing as the clear rule of the game that they have in the EU. So that will be from my side. Thank you.
Thank you, Ivan. Now let's get back to the schedule, and I would like to invite to the speech Dmytro Livch, co-founder of the Center for Economic Recovery and chair of the board and CEO of Easy Business NGO, with the presentation on potential of Ukraine to contribute to the European common market in terms of sectors and instrument, and more close look up at the nearshoring in the process of integrating of Ukraine to the EU value chains. Dmytro, the floor is yours, maybe some 15 minutes, and we'll then get back to public discussion. Please, the floor is yours.
Dmytro, we don't hear you.
Yeah, Dmytro, you're unmuted. Yeah, please, Dmytro.
Yeah, hello everyone. It's a great honor to be here, and great pleasure to meet all the people here in Zoom, and also a great pleasure to have those people in YouTube that are watching this very important event. And this event wouldn't be possible without the generous support of the government of Federal Republic of Germany and the GIZ project EU Innovation Lab for EU Association and of Ukraine. And our today's topic is Ukrainian potential for EU investment sectors, geography, and instruments. And basically, we conducted a huge study that highlights the trade turnover between Ukraine and EU, the prospects for Ukraine's integration into EU value chain, European Union trade over the course of the last decades, and some potential for investment attraction in terms of nearshoring. So I would like to start my short presentation with historical perspective on how the change imports and exports both changed for the European Union market and Ukraine. So basically, we signed a very important document of deep and comprehensive free trade agreement that has changed a lot the Ukraine's trade flows to European Union and from European Union. We also do understand that Russian imports from Ukraine and Ukrainian exports to Russia have decreased a lot, and we are very much happy about that. And also we do understand that those goods that were typically traded to European Union, they continue showing a positive dynamics. And furthermore, we do understand that Ukraine has granted a candidacy status last year, and we are now moving into negotiation phase, and we are very much motivated with Ukraine probably joining European Union in the midterm perspective. And we do understand that the trade dynamics of those countries that are typically mentioned as new member states of European Union, their trade balance has changed a lot. Their trade dynamics has changed a lot, and also dynamics of foreign direct investment has changed a lot. And I would really like to show you this dynamics for Central European states. And we do understand that over the course of 10 years after EU accession process, trade has increased by at least 17.5% for countries like Poland, Romania, Bulgaria, and also Slovak Republic. But we also do understand that EU integration is not only the factor that influencing potential for attracting of foreign direct investment to Ukraine. We also understand that Ukraine post-war recovery will be guided also by the engagement of the private sector. We also analyzed within our research in Center for Economic Recovery what was the post-war and post-disaster recovery of 26 states around the world, and I would really like to pay your attention to the case of Balkan states, especially Bosnia and Herzegovina. And we do understand that foreign direct investment has increased a lot, and it actually constitutes around 5 to 10% of their GDP after the post-war recovery has started. And we also do understand that the level of attention of neighboring countries, especially for Bosnia and Herzegovina, were pretty much at the very high level. This is just to start with, but then we analyzed the dynamics of trade for the European Union, and we do understand that it was growing, and it was growing steadily. Also affected by multiple crises, like financial crisis in 2008 and 9, then European debt crisis, then the COVID-19, and then the Russian invasion, full-scale Russian invasion to Ukraine. And this all affects EU external trade, and we do understand that those changes will basically create the new future and create this future of EU strategic autonomy. And we also do understand that there is some dependency from states outside European Union, like Russia, China, India, South Africa, Brazil, United States, and all of them are typically exporting to the European Union states on different stages of the value chains, and it is a subject to further value chain disruptions, because we are entering the age of trade wars between US and China, between democratic and non-democratic states, and we all understand that this dependency most probably will increase in the future if we will not change it right now. And as of now, we do understand that in the structure of extra EU imports, China and Russia basically represented 28% of extra EU import in 2022. I do understand that the situation is changing for better, because we are trying to put sanctions on Russia and non-democratic states, and but at the same time we need to understand who will basically replace those imports for European Union. And here it is also presented that around for the top 10 largest categories of extra EU import from China, the share of China is around 45%, which is huge, and which is subject for further exploration and subject for further analysis on how to basically replace it in the upcoming future. And we also analyzed the dependency of different states. We do understand that Netherlands may appear as the most dependent country, but this is all related to the huge port infrastructure in Netherlands, and it is like a gateway to European Union market for Chinese product. We also understand the Central European states like Czech Republic, Poland, Hungary. They are a bit dependent on the import of electronics, on import of raw materials, and they were previously worked as a production hubs for Western European countries. Having this in mind, we also analyzed the competitive advantages of Ukraine's products. We analyzed it using Atlas of Economic Complexity and available information in the open sources. And we do understand that the relative competitive advantages of Ukraine's product, especially in those categories that are mentioned here in the slide, is something that creates a potential for further exploration of trade between Ukraine and the EU, especially when we are joining single market after the harmonization of Ukraine's legislation to European Union legislation. And here we mentioned quite few sectors that may be a subject for an interest. We see that there is a huge potential in food industry as something that will help us to increase the complexity of Ukraine's products, because we typically has been perceived as an exporter of raw materials. But I would like to mention that there are quite many successful examples of Ukraine's food industry products that are successful on the markets, not only in EU but also globally. At the same time, machinery and transport equipment, this is something that we've been starting to work with after signing of DCFTA, and we can further work on that in the upcoming future. But this is probably impossible without attracting foreign direct investments into Ukraine, and I will explain you why, and I will explain how the EU Ніаршорінг may work for the better engagement of Ukraine's sectors of economy to EU value chains. Here we try to elaborate more on the reasons for Ніаршорінг, which is relocation of all parts of production or other value creating activities to a country near the home country. We assume that the home country is the European Union market, and we assume that there are economic reasons, political security reasons, and sustainability reasons to place those investments around European Union current borders. We also made a comparison analysis between Ukraine, some non-democratic states, and also Central European states against those criteria of political, economic, and sustainability factors. And we do understand that we are quite competitive against non-democratic states, while still we need to make some further steps, especially in those factors that have been mentioned by Anna, Alberto, also Ivan Nahornyak, and to be more and more competitive to attract those investments to Ukraine's economy. At the same time, we analyzed very important factors that may create competitive advantages for Ukraine, because investments are distance sensitive, and also investments are sensitive to the reduction of operational costs. And we do understand that Ukraine possesses those huge human capital, high skilled labor force, and also at the same time Ukraine has a lot of natural resources and also a lot of know-how on how to create those products that may be integrated into European economy. And if you do basically comparison of Ukraine against some Asian states like China, we do understand that we have advantage in logistics, and at the same time we have advantage in other factors like human capital and also economic potential. What is also very important when we are discussing some kind of potential of Ukraine to be a competitive on the global market, we do need to understand that there are different types of regions. Currently, there are regions that are at the borderline. There are also relatively safe regions, and there are regions that are basically the border with EU that creates the highest potential for the development of industries that are connected to European Union value chains. We also analyzed how the foreign direct investments affected those regions that are bordering with European Union. We do understand that those investments, especially in car parts manufacturing, textile, wood processing, food industry, they affected heavily the readiness of Ukrainian companies to work on the global markets. And before the full-scale invasion in 2022, we as a country showed a huge progress in terms of working with new markets like European market. And those regions they basically showed this progress as well, especially in industries like mechanical engineering, wood and wood processing, electrical equipment, furniture, plastic and polymers, and also food industry. And we do understand that the first investments will come to those regions that are relatively safe. But at the same time, to have a holistic approach in terms of nearshoring as a potential instrument for foreign direct investment and basically working on further elaboration of engagement of Ukraine's companies to EU value chains, we need to bear in mind three major factors. It's logistic improvement, because investments are distance sensitive, and distance is not only about the number of kilometers, but it's also about the quality of roads and quality of infrastructure that basically helps us to be more engaged into European networks. The second factor, probably the most important one, is risk compensation for investors. We should continue working on risk mitigation, because the perception of Ukraine is still that there is probably higher risks than in Central European countries, and we need to have those risk insurance. We need to have security guarantees. We need to provide investors with some stimulus, like industrial parks or special economic zones. But at the same time, we need to make sure that such exclusions or special conditions should not contradict the European Union standards. This is a very important statement. And the third one, probably the most important, is EU alignment reforms implementation. As my colleagues has mentioned before, we are starting the process with self-screening. We are continuing process with our preparation and readiness to start the negotiation process with the European Union, and this means that we need to basically tackle those negative perception and tackle those factors that basically work against Ukraine in terms of better engagement into European Union value chains. Thanks a lot for the attention. Here I would stop my presentation and would be happy to participate in the panel discussion. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dmytro. Colleagues, it was just a review. I would say it was a brief intro to a broad research made by the Center for Economic Recovery, and also in cooperation with Easy Business Experts, with support of GIZ. And we will publish the presentation, the research, very soon on I think on the Facebook, so it will be available for further discussion. At this point, I would like, I think Taras Kachka also joined us. He made it, and it's very great. Taras Kachka, Deputy Minister of Economy of Ukraine and Trade Representative of Ukraine. Taras, if you're with us, make a sign.
Yes, I am with you. Yeah.
Great.
Sorry, recently I just feel myself not like a trade representative, but trade commis-voyageur, because I constantly travel by car to the nearest airports, and now I'm traveling back from Chisinau to Kyiv. So that's why I apologize that I'm only in audio format. And I really appreciate the research. I think that it resonates with our policy of Ministry of Economy, and generally the economic policy of Ukraine, that resonates with general thinking about the integration of Ukraine into EU value chain, so that we have very different reasons and different approaches, but for the same conclusion. So due to the logistics obstacles and then blockage of seaports, and due to the general path of development in Ukraine, I might say that I fully agree with the general lines of the research, but I think as well, but I think that we need to take into account several things as well, like additionally. So first is the change of let's say global narrative on economy and trade, so that our economic policy, and especially trade policy, was formed in an era of let's say free trade orthodoxy, so that free trade is the key for the development of economy. So that it means tariffs, it means the non-tariff barriers, etc. Now we see in the rhetoric of United States and the policy applied by the European Union that industrial policy and the support of governmental support to particular business-to-business relations, development of clear, like exact supply chain is more important. And what in the words of U.S. Trade Representative Catherine Tai, the imperfection of trade law in the international trade law is something what we need now, and it means that the more engagement, let's say bigger engagement of government to the establishment of this supply chain. And this is what we see in our dialogue with Turkey, with the European Union, particular member states like Czech Republic, for example. So therefore, the policy of ministry and government is like changing, like turning to the bigger involvement into these business-to-business projects and supply chain. This is one thing, and another thing as well, the situation from business point of view. So I think that we still have demand from our business community on tariff liberalization or recognition of like certificates or something like this, or maybe financing. But in reality, we need greater engagement of business with government in terms of defining finding counterparts, finding like private certification, the procurement policy of like European companies, etc., etc. So that this element should be as well be like better highlighted in our dialogue with business, and we encourage business to be more open in this kind of requests to us, not only to find a final consumer, but also to find the companies to be in dialogue with, in thinking forward about the what, not only how to sell what you produce now, but maybe how to arrange the production of products that will be really in demand in particular business units in the European Union, etc. But generally, the foundation of this policy is based on our free trade agreements. So that despite my initial comments, so free trade agreements in terms of market access, but also in terms of new important topics like labor rights, environmental principles, etc. These agreements are even more important in terms of creating this foundation for this kind of dialogue on industrial supply chains, as I said. So therefore, I think that we like starting like from this global discussion, we are moving to the more practical fine-tuning of our, let's say, public policy of government, but also engagement with business as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Taras. At this point, I would like to turn to Igor Liski, who is the founder and chairman of the supervisory board of the Effective Investments Group. Igor, what you have heard from, thank you for joining us, what you have heard from Taras Kachka on this changing of the global narrative. We know that you travel a lot. You are kind of, I don't know, civil society or business comic voyageur. You have been to URC, to Ukraine Recovery, business conference, other major international events. So two questions to you. Firstly, do you feel and smell the same as what Taras Kachka just said about this shift from trade orthodoxy to business projects? And secondly, what is your general position or overview how to make this nearshoring for Ukraine, for Ukrainian businesses possible? So the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. I want briefly just to describe you what is my main idea, and that just why I'm really believe that it's a real time for Ukraine just to turn from the emotional part. That it is really important that we are like defending, let's say, Europe from the biggest threat of the 21st century, and just all this we think that Ukrainians are brave enough and just stayed on the right side, and I believe that the help from Europe and all the civilized world will be just continue. But just I really believe that we should switch from the emotional part and to the more practical, like to speak about the opportunities, about investment, about money and profit for European companies, for European business, and just make it win-win-win strategy. Just as an entrepreneur, I see a lot of potential, and just I'm trying to promote this way of thinking, and we really have to speak and show and promote the real projects. Just as you already described, there are a lot of opportunities in Ukraine, and just with switch in some logistic and some like geopolitics, that really from Asia and China, the production should be closer to the real market, European and then North America. The second one, what is really important, Ukraine has labor potential. It's educated and is ready to work. And anyway, we should take them from Europe or who was just removed from the east of the country. And the best way is to support them to create jobs. So that's why I see the potential. And then the main idea is to create a new industrial wave in Ukraine. So just to make it just all these three synergy with just to create jobs for labor, for Ukrainians, that there is enough there. The second one is to make the logistics shorter, and just to be the main supplier for some what is like most efficient production, and there's this logistic really close to European market. And the third one is to make the most efficient and the right way to utilize Ukrainian advantages, Ukrainian resources. And it's also right now it's like geopolitical how to say security program, because Ukraine is the biggest. We know about this the Ukrainian agricultural opportunities, soil, the iron ore, all the metals which are here, and just we should really to utilize that in the most efficient way. So we need the new industrial project with a Western European technology, and just this will help us to support Ukrainian labor, Ukrainian people, and just to take this pressure on European support for these funds. We're ready to take them back. And the last but not least, I believe that the security sector and security industry is really important for the next 10-20 years. And Ukraine, which is involved in the most intensive conflict in the world for these 70 years, it should be the best platform and the best territory to start this innovative and like productive producing of military and military tech or military ammunition products. So these four pieces combined should make this, first of all, to help to this part of the world to be more secure. It will be about win-win strategy, and it will help like investment to speak about opportunities and profit and real gain. And of course, it will support and make it more easier the logistic, because we see more and more important thing about the COVID and also the conflict problems, and I believe this is crucial just to start think about real projects to to invite the real technology company to and prepare project already now. So we actually taking part in some really, I would say, potentially interesting projects, and invite all of you just to join us and just to join Ukrainian entrepreneurs.
Thank you, Igor. Thank you very much for that comment. Actually, back to the Ukrainian government. It all sounds great, but if I have the feeling that if we, as Ukraine, as the government, as society, as people, if we do not do our homework, we might lose, or we might lose badly. So, and my question again back to Ivan Nahornyak, who is the deputy head of the government office for coordination on European and Euro-Atlantic integration. Actually, do we have a homework that will help us to, to integrate that in the EU value chains? And what's at stake? What are the most important parts? Anna Derevyanko already mentioned the rule of law, fighting corruption, fighting the narrative of corruption, crisis, war, and getting to trust building. But so what's on our plate? What's our hamburger of homework?
Thank you, Vasil. I really hope that you hear me well. First of all, I would like to thank Center for Economic Recovery for this study and presentation. I remember back in 2021, we worked with you very closely related to the European strategic autonomy concept, and this also lies in line with our ideas related to the integration of Ukraine into the EU market. Following what I saw in your presentation, I would like to mention two maybe things, or I would say outcomes, which I personally made to myself. First of all, when it comes to the numbers and what you give into your presentation, if everything will go in the right direction, and we will really use this opportunity that we have right now with the legal approximation, with the access to the EU market, both EU and Ukraine will benefit from joining Ukraine into the European value chains, into the European economy. Of course, the crucial is the level of reforms, legal approximation, and we are doing quite well in that regard. I remember since 2021, we were very actively negotiating with the European Union related to the so-called ACA agreement. I think that you very well know it's like an industrial visa-free regime. And Taras Kachka knows it very well. He was chief negotiator, and he is chief negotiator. And this is still one of the main concepts of our joint roadmap of economic integration, and our, I would say, idea to use as much as possible the instrument that we have is DCFTA, Deep and Comprehensive Free Trade Agreement with the EU, and everything that is there. The second point is that we have to look very forward and in the long-term perspective. What I mean is that in any case, the integration of Ukraine into the EU single market, we will also become part of the European customs union. And this will also affect on our relations towards the third parties, but this is also will affect on the, I would say, the supply chains of our industry, of our production, because we will have to reconsider our customs duties with third parties. So we have to look very closely on negotiations with between the EU and Ukraine, on the accession negotiations during the kind of some special regimes for trade agreements. But what is more important is that when Ukraine will become the part of the European Union economy, we will make the European Union trade policy more stronger. What I'm talking about is all of our agri and export potential will become also potential of the European Union. So I think that from that perspective, we will make the European Union stronger also. But I would say that in very end, all of this that we are talking here about the integrating Ukraine into the European value chains is about the bringing more economical development into Ukraine. Of course, to give them more higher level of life here in Ukraine. Because of course it's very important when you're living in Kyiv, you sometimes don't see the realities on the ground. When you will look from some local communities, especially even in the western part of Ukraine, we really need, as Igor Liski said, the new jobs there. We really need some industries there. We really need some enterprises there and investments. So we as the state has to look very closely at this as a potential for, first of all, for prosperity of our country. Of course, the solidarity lines that was like a life ring for us, and we really appreciate the support from the European Union on that regard and related to the concept of Ukraine's integration into the value chains. And in the last point is that the very important one for us. I think that, as you may know, the European Commission just recently in London conference presented the Ukraine facility, and one of the pillars of this facility is the Ukraine guarantee. And I really would like to maybe to work with you, to work with other partners on how Ukraine could use this Ukraine guarantee that is more than 8.9 billion euros of guarantees for investments into Ukraine. So this is gonna bring big boost of the investments of both private and public money into Ukraine. So I really think that it is very important both for our government and our enterprises and private sector to work very closely with EIB, EBRD on that regard and for more efficient use of this Ukraine guarantee. Thank you very much, and I will be very interested in some conversation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ivan, for your take on the topic and our cooperation with the governmental office. Actually, that's the take from the Ukrainian government. What is the take from the EU delegation? I would like to give the floor to Alberto Fernandez-Diaz, who is the head of trade and economic section of the EU delegation to Ukraine. So Alberto, from what you have heard from the presentation and what speakers said, does it match any, vision and realities of the EU, and what Ivan said, that Ukraine might make or will make the EU and the EU market stronger and more rich, so to say? And actually, what obstacles will you identify on this way? So what's the homework probably? What should both the Ukraine and the EU work together on to make it happen? Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Vasil, and thanks colleagues from the Center of Economic Recovery for organizing this event, and the presentation by Dimitri was very useful and clear, and that's always good to exchange on the basis of clarity so that there are no misunderstandings. I will try to be brief, so maybe two aspects. First aspect is where we are, both on the side of Ukraine and on the side of the EU. So with Ukraine, where we are now, we are basically summarizing in discussing two main tracks. The first one is the accession track, which is based on approximation, alignment, building on the DCFTA. This could be called preparation. And the second track is reconstruction. There is a huge opportunity. Some economists talk about the Phoenix effect effect on the economy. There is a forecast that there will be a lot of investment potential in Ukraine, estimated at twice the GDP of the country by the World Bank. So that's more or less the opportunity. So we have to see how the preparation meets the opportunity to create added value and something that is beneficial for both sides, especially for Ukraine in this case. This is on the side of Ukraine, but I think it's very important also to look at how the world is developing its thinking, and also the European Union. Ivan mentioned the Ukraine facility that was presented on the 20th of June. On the very same day, the European Union presented the communication on the new European economic security strategy. And this lays the foundation of the new thinking. And this is also linked to what Taras Kashka mentioned about the new role of trade policy and the new economic paradigm in the European Union. Some years ago, 20 years ago, trade policy was a clear cut. It was clearly, we wanted to trade, and we were betting on the multilateral system. We didn't have the tensions that we have today. And one of the key aspects of this strategy that was published on the 20th of June is the need to mitigate the risks arising from supply chains dependencies and other dependencies. And this is a lesson drawn, especially not only from COVID, but also capitalized in the current war, that the European Union is trying to diversify the risk, minimize the risks, and become more autonomous in its trade policy. So Ukraine is completely not a third partner in this, because Ukraine is a candidate country. So we are working together with Ukraine on the accession track. And this is a policy where we factor in that aspect in our thinking. So that is an opportunity in itself for Ukraine. And the issue of many of the topics that were discussed today about diversification of investments, integration of Ukrainian companies in the European value chains, that goes totally in this direction. So both are not it's not exclusive. So actually both so to say, contribute to each other. So you can build on both the Ukraine facility, the new economic realities in the European Union, and you find a synergy that has to be exploited smartly. Now on two main aspects, opportunity and preparation. On the opportunity, Ivan mentioned the Ukraine plan. This Ukraine plan has been discussed now, which will be the basis for investment in several sectors. There are 9 working groups where discussions are taking place. There are some sectors which are more important than others. Of course, at the end of the day, the decision will be on the business. So business have to decide where they put the money. So what we can do, the opportunity is there. What we can do is to lay the foundations for enable those investments to materialize. And that's where we can use first and foremost the accession track, build on the DCFTA. We do not have to wait until Ukraine is a member state, until it's actually integrated in the EU internal market. We can already explore those possibilities. Ivan mentioned the ACA. Last Friday, we finalized the pre-assessment. You can look on the website of the European delegation, the press release from Monday. We are on track. This is a good development. And we have not only the ACA, we have other opportunities in the association agreement. That is the legal basis for bilateral relations that can be exploited to integrate as much as possible Ukraine into the EU internal market. And that's what we're doing. So this is the logic of the so-called priority action plan, but also the whole spirit of the European Union trade policy towards Ukraine, to integrate as much as possible Ukraine into the internal market on the basis of regulatory approximation, which is one of the key aspects. Another aspect that is very important for value chains is the PEN Convention. It's not only about the EU, it's the accumulation of rules of origin. This is something that can facilitate Ukraine's businesses integration in the larger supply chains. For instance, we have examples of companies in Lviv Oblast producing automobile pieces or elements that are further manufactured or transformed in Moldova, then Turkey, and then they are sold in Hamburg or exported to one of the trade partners of the Union, being a member of the PEN Convention. This is something that, without having to recheck the origin of the product, this is a facilitation measure that we have to expand, because de facto would be like having Ukraine as a member state. And another aspect that we can look at is all the logistics. And this was also mentioned, the issue of solidarity lanes, especially in the current context. The Black Sea is closed. It's not only about grain, it's about other products. We need to make sure that there is an investment in Ukraine, there is a potential. There are external markets, not only in the Union, but beyond, where these products can be sold, but we need to facilitate the logistics of it. And that's not that easy in the current context. So a huge effort is being put in that context. We're analyzing all possibilities. In the case of grain, this is discussed in the platform that was established 2 months ago. But in the case of other products, we need to look at which are the bottlenecks to make sure that Ukrainian products can make it not only to Hamburg or Malaga, but also to Africa or further away. And this is where something where the Union is determined to help. Last point, challenges for the future. This was briefly mentioned as well. We need to look at the human capital, how intensive in human capital the new sectors that will drive the reconstruction are. The issue of raw materials, the Union is placing a lot of importance on raw materials. We have an alliance with Ukraine. And we also believe that one of the elements is that should be developed is transformation of raw materials in Ukraine. When Ukraine will become more integrated with the Union, as economic experience shows with other countries, the trade balance between the countries will tend to equalize and the trade mix will tend to equalize a bit. Now, Ukraine is exporting a lot of commodities and importing a lot of high added value machinery. So, for instance, to take 2 member states, the picture is a bit different. It's more equal. There is more, so to say, more similar trade mix. So this is something that we should look at, how to achieve that level of, so to say, diversification with Ukraine as well. And finally, the policies that underpin these fiscal policies, they have to be balanced. The taxes that are applied, there are discussions on this. The fiscal gap in Ukraine, for the time being, Ukraine depends on foreign funding. The Union is providing that in the form notably of macrofinancial assistance and other types of grants. We need to see how Ukraine can become, the budget can become more solid. And it's a both chicken and egg situation. The budget is going to fund a lot of the reconstruction efforts, but also feed into the budget when the investments materialize and companies start to pay taxes. So we need to look at how to make it smart and also learn from the examples in the previous cases, for instance, Croatia after the Balkan War, or even Germany after the Second World War, which were the lessons learned from those processes of reconstruction, and apply them to Ukraine. And that's pretty much all I wanted to mention. I hope, of course, I'm happy to discuss more in detail in case you want. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Alberto. Very concise and very concrete thesis. I see that we have some 13 minutes left. We have also one last speaker, and we will have some 5-7 minutes for questions from the audience, either in chat or you could raise a hand. I will give you the floor. 1 minute question, up to 1 minute question, up to 1 minute answer. So, and now I would like to give the floor to representative of European business in Ukraine, Oliver Gerlichs, who is the managing director and CFO of Buyer Ukraine Ltd. Getting back to what previous speaker said, and also Igor Liski, who mentioned rich Ukrainian labor force, closeness to logistics, and Ukrainian special geopolitical advantages and security experience, and all other stuff. Do you feel it the same way, or is it something else that you would add to the list of Ukraine's path to nearshoring, how to make it happen, so to say? Oliver, if you are with us.
Yes.
Oh, great.
Yes. Yeah, thank you for the question, and sorry for not putting on my video. I have a very bad internet connection. I think it's better this way, so sorry for that. There were very interesting speakers before, and taking them all together, I think basically everything is said. You referred to Igor as being an entrepreneur, and me on the business side. I echo a lot of what he's saying. You mentioned particularly the labor force, and that also came to my mind. Yes, we see, of course, the risk now that unfortunately many men are dying. We see that many families have left Ukraine. The question will be, will they come back or not? The assumption is the longer it takes, the less will come back because they have built up their life. Young children have gotten used to living abroad, speaks language, are integrated in classes, and that would make it more difficult. Interestingly enough, I have made a good experience in my previous position before I came to Ukraine. I was managing director for West Central Africa for Bayer. And what you hear from the media is you have seen for decades that there was only one direction. Many African people, because of their living conditions, were just moving to Europe usually. And interestingly enough, what I have experienced while I was there is you had a significant number of people coming back, and especially those people that had very good education, that had an entrepreneurial spirit, because they saw that with a similar effort, like in countries like France, Germany, Spain, UK, wherever they were, if they come back and they build up a company, they can live much better than in those countries with very high costs. So having experienced over 3 years now here in Ukraine, the spirit of people, I can imagine that also after the war activities are over, we will see a lot of entrepreneurial startups with good ideas, with what can be done, what is needed for Ukraine. And that would mean that many people get a chance here to build up a business in Ukraine that they will not find anywhere else abroad in Western Europe, for example. So in general, yes, there is certainly, there will be a period where there will be a fight for the talents and getting the right people. But then over time, you may have immigration, depending on what the government will do here. But you will also have quite some people coming back if they see the opportunities to establish a good life here. So that's an important point from my point of view. Now, investments. Well, look, Bayer is a company that is investing, and we have decided during the war period to invest another 60 million euro in our already existing plant in Zhytomyr, a seed treatment plant. And the very simple reason is we see a positive business case. There's no zero risk, that is true, but we think it is manageable. We're taking precaution as much as we can. And with everything that has been said, if we invest now, if we attract the people, if we attract the employees, if we have the product ready at the moment they are needed in Ukraine, then we will be very happy with that investment. And we are very optimistic that our business plan is right correctly in that direction. So what I'm doing when I speak for Ukraine Invest and in some other forums, especially when we talk to companies abroad that have not been present in Ukraine yet, what was the case recently with, for example, some representatives from the Czech Republic, we are telling them, or I'm trying to tell them, that it is very valuable to invest now, and not because it's a charity investment for the country, which is a nice side effect, but because it just makes economically sense for the company. And what I always underline is Bayer is a very cautious, conservative company, and we are convinced that we can have a positive impact on our business by investing right now. So that is for me the baseline here. I think we have to be much more transparent and open in approaching companies that are not present in Ukraine today that might be tempting to go there, who have an idea that, looks like a good idea. Look at companies in the construction industry and so many other areas that will be needed after the war. And to explain them how they can invest in Ukraine, what they can do, and that investing now puts them in a unique position to be ready when the war is over, which nobody has a crystal ball, but I would also hope and estimate that this is in the course of 24. And so I think it is the right moment now to be very, very active in Ukraine, to invest, to create opportunities for the people, employment, and this kind of things. And we should really ensure that this opportunity is well known in other countries for small and mid-sized companies that are eagerly looking now to the Ukraine market. For the other topics, I think it has been very well explained already by the other colleagues, and I would just not like to repeat all of that. I think it was very well done.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Oliver, for this take from the European businesses operating in Ukraine. Dear colleagues, we have some 4 or 5 minutes left. Is there any questions in the room who would like to voice up? We could take 1 or 2 questions. Otherwise, I will get my final question to all the speakers. Let me know if, Armin Hoffman. Armin, the floor is yours, please.
Yeah, thank you very much. And it's a very interesting discussion we are having. And let me also introduce, I'm actually the program director for the trade program of the GIZ with Ukraine and the EU. And our intention is, and I think here as a contribution, we are looking forward to see that the SMEs in Ukraine will be in a position to integrate and to benefit from these opportunities. And please don't forget that, because all kind of investment will be just on the surface when let's say SMEs are not integrated. I would like to give a few aspects which are, I guess, valid for all sectors. The first one is showing up. I can tell you, when we have tried to build up B2B connections, the first came, but Ukraine is in a war. Can they produce? So we have found out we have to explain business in Europe to say there is a lot of opportunity, and the war is not all over the country and everything is damaged. So the first impression was, can they produce? Of course they can produce, but this is one thing we have done successfully. The second part is we have to show up. We have this trade with Ukraine and buy Ukrainian products. We are now in fairs presented. The next month, now in September, at the International Automobile exhibition in Munich. We are also in the toy fair and also in the Ambiente. So where the companies have a chance, first of all, to be present, to show we are here, Ukraine is here. Secondly, to see and learn what are the competitors, especially in the EU market. So I would like to encourage also, it is important, opportunities are there, but the business as such, they have to learn that, to see, okay, what are the products, what are needed. And I only would like to share with you, we are doing with our business intermediary organization, we help also to give information to help companies what is required in the EU market. So how to build up a web page, how we can appear, what are needed. So we have a number of tools, and we have also a Facebook where this can be seen. So I just want to encourage, and bringing this from the macro picture to the business level, here it's important to integrate them and give them the opportunity, because otherwise they are easily discouraged. We have to help them so that they see, okay, what is required from the EU market, what are the businesses, what they want to, and we have to help them to build up this new business relation. So this is just a few aspects, and I just want to put my point there. Integration of SMEs, when large investments, so I'm happy to hear what Oliver Gierich has mentioned from Bayer, but when then the local businesses can be somehow in an essential way integrated, then we have a real, let's say, growth, and then it will be a broad-based growth, not only just like small islands where businesses is done. So this is my recommendation. See how we can integrate them, the SMEs in the country. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Armin. For your comment and for the GIZ support is very valuable for us. And your helicopter view, I think it's very important for all of us. And it's great that Metro. I also remember the slide when there is a map of Ukraine, and we have, united. So we could see where is it safe, where it's questionable, and where there is the war actions in place. Metro has a comment. Yeah, Metro, and we have one last question from the YouTube audience. Metro, please.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Armin, for your comment and the work that you are doing with Ukraine's SMEs who are willing to export to foreign markets. It's crucial, to be honest, currently, because now we are in kind of resilient stage as an economy, and we also in our Center for Economic Recovery and Easy Business, we've been doing a lot of studies on SME development in Ukraine and the impact of war, full-scale war on their current state of play. And I totally agree with you that there should be an ecosystem of support to Ukraine's SMEs in terms of let's say export crediting, like Export Credit Agency, Export Promotion Office that is working with mostly with help and assistance to SMEs. I mean, international technical assistance that is quite broad right now, and supporting Ukraine's SMEs. And we do see this kind of request from SMEs coming. And for example, at our grant programs that was managed by Easy Business, we received 769 applications over the course of 2 months of open call. For small and medium enterprises that were willing to get the support. And I would say that export support is one of the top 3 categories of support that businesses currently requested. But at the same time, it is very important to do this kind of perception change on the global market that Ukraine's economy is moving forward. We are stable suppliers, we are stable partners, and basically our integration to EU markets is a key to further EU integration of Ukraine, because the economic part is one of the most important parts, but at the same time we do need to remember about those very important parts that Alberto and Ivan was raising regarding harmonization. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Dmitro. And we have one last question from Roman Petrov, who is a professor at Kyiv Mohyla Academy and the head of the Department of International and European Law. And the question is, what EU policies could be open for Ukraine in the near future, maybe in emerging EU digital market or others? I would like to probably address it to Alberto, if Alberto is still with us. Or is there any other policies which is we could look in the closer future?
Hi, Vasil, can you hear me?
Yep. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
No, on this, there are several. The EU internal market has several policies, and some of these policies are underpinned by specific budgetary programs, by budgets. So Ukraine joined the Single Market Program in February in the margins of the College to Government meeting. This was signed between Prime Minister Shmyhal and President von der Leyen. This is the participation of Ukraine into a program that has a name to support SMEs and companies, and there are specific actions in this regard. And this is in line with the internal market policies that apply in the internal market. So the purpose is to get Ukrainian companies more competitive to participate in that. And just recently, in June, Ukraine signed an agreement to join the European Connecting Europe facility, which is about infrastructure as well. But there are some digital elements, and on this we can discuss maybe bilaterally. There are several programs on which Ukraine is already participating, because the open door for this is enabled in the association agreement. There is a protocol that allows Ukraine to participate in internal market programs, and this has as a purpose to make sure that Ukrainian actors, mainly companies, benefit from that and get ready for the internal market.
Thank you very much, Alberto. Dear colleagues, we are running out of time, so I would like to thank again to our speakers, Taras Kachka, Ivana Hornyak, Alberto Fernandez-Diaz, also Igor Liski and Oliver Girlichs and Dmitro Lich, and many thanks to Kirilo Krivolap, Anna Derevyanko for the intros. Thank you to GIZ, which supported the research and this event, and we thank our partners, European Business Association, for also making all happen. And just the last update, we will publish the presentation. It will be public online for further discussion, and we'll send it to all registered participants for this event. We had more than 25 participants in Zoom and more than 50 or 60 during the YouTube translation. So up to 100 people has seen the event. Thank you very much again for having this time. I hope that it is only a start of the broader discussion when Ukraine is on this EU accession track, and we, the Center for Economic Recovery, will keep you further updated. Thanks again. Have a nice and safe day and week, and let's be in touch. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Bye-bye.